Hello everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Today we get to talk about books. Okay guys, I just, you know me in reading, you know me in audiobooks. I've got one going, 2 or 3 at one time because I love my books. I do a lot of audio, like when I'm in the car or if I'm doing laundry or something, and holding a book is impossible. But then when I lay down, I'll have my book that I pick up and that I read. I'm always got a book going. So I'm just really grateful that I get to share with you guys what I got to read in July and in August. I wasn't able to do a TBR update in July, but that's okay. We will talk about the books that I read in July and some of the books that I read in August. It's been a lot of fun, and I've had several books that I have absolutely loved. Others that were meh, and others that I didn't even finish. So I'll go ahead and share with y'all the books that I read. In the month of July, I started the book Because of Miss Bridgerton, and it was by Julia Quinn. And that was a book that I didn't finish. I don't think I got past chapter 2. Maybe I got to chapter 3. It just wasn't for me. I'm not saying if you enjoyed it that it was a bad book. It just was not for me. So I think about chapter 3, I put it down and said, no, that's all right. Send it back to the library. So then the next book that I picked up was Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I was definitely feeling the British historical kind of fiction vibe. And so I went back to one of my tried and true, most favorite books in all time. It's, Elizabeth Bennet is probably one of my favorite characters of all time. Let's not talk about Darcy. If we're going to talk about romance, that is probably the way I like romance the best. This is the best, one of the best books I've ever read in my life. And so I don't have to say much more about that. I read Pride and Prejudice and I got myself right back on track because when I read a book that just doesn't interest me, sometimes it puts me in a reading funk. And so I was really happy to pick up a book that just really spoke to me and that I very much enjoyed. So after reading Pride and Prejudice, I went the other way and I read a book by and guys, I'm going to say this name wrong, so please forgive me. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Guys, did I just kill that name? Please forgive me. And it's We Should All Be Feminist. And it was a very short book. It was tiny. And it was very small. But it was a mighty powerful book. It talks about women, how women should support and empower one another throughout the world in order to better the lives of so many young women and older women that are just absolutely living just very, very difficult and destitute lives simply because they're either not unable to get an education or because their culture doesn't allow them to move any further as in their role because they are women. I enjoyed the book. I don't know if I would call myself a feminist, but I am definitely pro-woman. I say it that way because, we each have our own opinions, but I am definitely pro-woman, and I could absolutely get on board with what the author was saying. I don't want to kill her name anymore. And I thought the book was a good read. I definitely recommend that one. And it was a quick read because it was so tiny. Then after that, I read The Dark Prophecy, Trials of Apollo by Riordan, and that's one of those books that to me was like, eh. I've read almost all of Riordan's books. I love the Percy Jackson series. I just find him to be a very entertainer author. I love Greek mythology, and I understand that these are YA books. These are, almost considered children. In some schools, at least when my daughter was growing up, I remember that the Percy Jackson series was in the classroom from about 4th grade to on up. And so, because there's always a kid that's more advanced and, they'll have those books available for them. And so I found The Trials of Apollo to be, it was not for me. I've also read the first book in the series, but I think that this will be the end of me reading that particular series. So that's my opinion on The Trials of Apollo. It just did not meet my expectations of what Rick Riordan's previous works were. So the next book I read was Julian Fellowes' Belgravia, and this book takes place in 1815, right after the Battle of Waterloo takes place, and it is a book that it is a saga to me, in my opinion. It is definitely historical fiction. It is adult fiction. It takes you through the Battle of Waterloo, and you meet Sophie, who's a young, beautiful girl, and she's just, a regular person. She has no title, and she's fallen in love with a young man that is titled. Her father is a very ambitious man and has done everything possible to increase their position in society, but he's limited because he is not a titled lord. This book then proceeds to follow James Trenchard's trajectory in becoming a builder and a creator of homes and an architect in the British society, and he creates a neighborhood called Belgravia. So this book involves Lady Templemore, who is a very prominent member in society, and she becomes entangled in the tangled web of lies that the treacherets have built in their life. So let's just say this. I don't want to give away anymore because, like I said, it is a saga. If you enjoyed Downton Abbey, which is also by Julian, or if you enjoy historical British fiction, then I think you will really absolutely love this book. I am so grateful that I got to enjoy it. It definitely met my need or my desire for reading that kind of historical fiction. After I got done with Pride and Prejudice, I just needed a little bit more, so I went back and I did Julian Belgravia, and I really did enjoy it. It is a thick book. It took me a little bit of time, but I definitely enjoyed it, and it was definitely worthy of being read. Sorry about that, guys. My memory card got full and I had to get up and get a memory card and, you know, just deal with the issues. So I'm back. So the next book that I read was My Lady Jane by Cynthia Hand. And this book is definitely a very cheeky book. I've read that it's been compared to, let's say, like The Princess Bride. And in my opinion, I don't think that's the case. But that being said, it is quite an entertaining book. It is a historical fiction book, and it starts as King Edward is king right after King Henry VIII dies. And so Edward assumes the throne. At that point, this book takes a very fantastical kind of component to it. And it just goes there. Let's just put it that way. It introduces two different societies, the Edians, which are people that can transform from people to animals. And then there are the Verities, which are just regular people that do not have that gift. And the Edians are very much being hunted down because they are thought to be bewitched and evil. And so you go down this crazy little rabbit hole of events that it is just a very humorous, it is entertaining. At times it can get a little bit long-winded, and the authors, they come in and they do like narration in the book. And so I like the book. I thought it was a fun book. I think if you're a younger person, you might find it even more entertaining than I did. It was so loosely based on history, and I think that's the part I like the most, because I think that had they tried to even remotely keep it close to history, it would not have worked. I think it is an entertaining read. I think as a parent, you could definitely read this to a younger child at nighttime, because it does have that fantastical element that will keep them wanting to hear more and more about it. So it was an entertaining book. Not my favorite book this summer, but it was okay. After that, I'm still right in that, you know, British kind of literature kind of book track, and I decided to read my Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I had said that this summer I wanted to go back and revisit some of the books. I did this one in audio. I needed to hear something that, you know, as I was busy doing my daily chores, that was entertaining, and I absolutely love the Harry Potter books. I can't say anything that hasn't been said about them. I highly recommend them. You get introduced to Dobby in this particular book, and I love Dobby. He's one of my favorite characters. But anyways, I did enjoy this book, and I do recommend all the Harry Potter series, and I don't want to go any more into that because, you know, you've probably heard a million of these reviews on that particular book. So then I picked up 13 Reasons Why by J. Asher, and it was a really good book. My daughter had seen the series. She didn't read the book, but she had told me that her peer counseling teacher in high school had told her that that was one of her favorite books of all time. I found it a very good book. Now, I can't talk to you about the Netflix series because I haven't watched it. But what I can tell you is that I did enjoy the book. Now, some of it was a little disturbing. The book definitely addressed issues on bullying, on rumors, on, you know, the carelessness of not being present with your classmates when you're a young person, and betrayal. Betrayal was a big aspect of this particular book. So Hannah creates a list with 13 reasons why she has made this decision, and each of those decisions involves a bit of a scavenger hunt and a individual person. And so, guys, I did enjoy this book. it had elements in it that, you know, it very much saddened me. It was a bit of a mystery, so you never knew how it was going to end. You know, bullying has become so, it's gotten out of hand. Rumors in high school can absolutely destroy a person's life, and depression is something that's very, very real, and people actually do live through it, and we have to be very aware of our surroundings and the things that our friends are going through. I think it was a book that really reminded me, you know, when I was working in the field and I would work with the young people, and you could just see their hearts were breaking. And so I also identified with the young person, because, you know, I think if you've been to school and you've been a young person, at some point you've dealt with peer pressure and you've dealt with bullying, so I could identify with that. But I do think it was a good book, and I can understand why it had such a buzz about it. I just really, it's a subject matter that just saddens my heart, but I did enjoy it. So guys, those were the books that I've read in the month of July and most of August. But I think pretty much I finished my whole TBR for the summer. I did. I read Pride and Prejudice. I read Dark Matter. I love that book. Love, love that book. The House Slave by Tara Conklin. I read 2 of the Harry Potter series. I read 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asner. And the only book I have left on my TBR for the summer would be Lady Elizabeth by Alison Weir. It is right now in my queue, so I am getting ready to start that book. I've really enjoyed this, you know, sharing with you guys the books that I've been reading and what I felt about them. I hope that you found my reviews or my 2 cents relevant, and maybe you tried a couple of these books and maybe you found them entertaining. If you have any great book or good book recommendations, and you kind of think we have a little bit of similar taste in books, please, please, please leave them down below. I'm always looking for the next great read. I'm so grateful that you took a moment to watch this video. I hope that you come back and visit. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button. Come back and become part of my family. And you guys, be blessed. Bye.